Wildfire just broke out pretty close to my house. But I'm just gonna film anyway. Oh, okay. A little bit nervous. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Marlow York, and I'm a self-published author. And currently it is Banned Books Week. And if you don't know what that is, I'm actually going to read straight from the website, bannedbooksweek.org, what exactly that is. So, Banned Books Week is an annual event celebrating the freedom to read. Banned Books Week was launched in 1982 in response to a sudden surge in the number of challenged books in schools, bookstores, and libraries. Typically held during the last week in September, it highlights the value of free and open access to information. Banned Books Week brings together the entire book community. Librarians, booksellers, publishers, journalists, teachers, and readers of all types in shared support of the freedom to seek and to express ideas, even those some might consider unorthodox or unpopular. So in short, Banned Books Week was established to encourage reading of books that have been challenged or banned, or in some cases relocated and even burned because of their content. And the first time I heard about Banned Books Week, I was actually really surprised to see how many of these books are not only not necessarily problematic, for lack of a better word, or controversial for any particular reason, and a lot of them surprised me because very often some of them are even children's books. So I'm going to actually read the 2018 most challenged books, and a couple of them I have read. So let's see. There's George by Alex Gino, A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo by Jill Twiss, which is a children's book, Captain Underpants series by Dave Pilkey, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, Drama by Raina Telgemeier, 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher, and this book I have read. I didn't really like it that much, but I'm not going to get into that today, but it wasn't because I think it should be banned. I think it is important to talk about suicide, which is basically what the book is about. However, just for the plot itself and other reasons, it wasn't a favorite. Anyway, moving on. This One Summer by Mariko Tamaki. I'm just gonna butcher names. Make fun of me if you will. Whatever. Skippy John Jones series, written by I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Judy Schachner? The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. I read this book and I think I gave it maybe 4.5 stars. I actually really liked this book, and I actually didn't really think of it as like needing to be banned, but I guess there are definitely somewhat controversial topics in it, but it's a semi-autobiographical book, so it's based on real life. I mean, real life is tough and can be controversial. Number 10, This Day in June by Gail E. Pittman. And number 11 was Two Boys Kissing by David Levithan. David Levithan. Help. And there have been top 10 and top 11 books challenged for, it looks like every year since 2001. I'm going to link these pages below in the description so that you guys can check out Banned Books Week and lists of the current year and many previous years' banned and challenged books for yourselves, because again, a lot of these really surprised me, and it's funny that so many of these are taught in schools. So it's funny how some people can see a piece of literature and think this has really important things to teach young people, or these books are really entertaining and they want to sell them to children, like Harry Potter has been often banned and challenged in schools and libraries. And then other people are just like, oh no, these books are just terrible because God forbid they talk about real shit that really happens. Except for maybe Captain Underpants. I never read that, but whatever. So to celebrate Banned Books Week by myself, I read The Color Purple by Alice Walker, which was, let me just check it out real fast, which made the top 10 list of most banned books in 2009 and in 2007. Reasons involve homosexuality, offensive language, and being sexually explicit, and also unsuited to age group. I mean, I assume this is an adult book. That's where I found it in the library. It's not considered a young adult book, I don't think. So, unsuited to age group? I don't know what that's about. So for this video, I really wanted to just mention Banned Books Week and The fact that I think it's important that we celebrate our right to read books that we choose, and I'm not going to say that there's nothing wrong in any of these books or that certain books can't be problematic or triggering or whatever, but that doesn't mean that the book should be necessarily condemned or the author should be condemned. And I think that's a really unfortunate part, especially being an author myself, that people will make assumptions about the writer based on content that's within the book. Or they'll say that for some reason they think the author is encouraging the things that are seen in the book, such as, like abuse and racism, stuff like that, when we're just trying to shed light on these things. Just because you're pointing something out in a fictional work, or even something that's biographical in some way, doesn't mean that you're advocating for that thing. So I think we really need to stop trying to censor books and writers and people who are just trying to spread ideas, and stop assuming that the ideas that they're spreading are meant to cause harm. In most cases, they're just trying to tell a story. They're just trying to empower people through writing, or get some point across, or just shed light on something that people might not even realize is happening. So to get into the second part of this video, I wanted to do a review of The Color Purple. Let me start out by saying that I have not read a book so quickly in a long time. I think it only took me about 2 weeks to finish this book. I guess it's not like a huge book anyway, although the print is pretty small, but I ended up giving it 4.5 stars, and I'm very bad at describing what books are about. If you've watched any of my previous videos, specifically the monthly favorites videos where I try to review books and describe them very poorly, but essentially let's see if I can do it. This book is about a African-American woman named Celie, and it just basically tells her life story from the time that she's about 14 years old up into her being, it doesn't exactly say, but she's older, maybe like in her 50s or 60s, and it portrays the stuff that she went through during her life and how she managed to overcome those things. So I can definitely see why it's often challenged, because it does feature abuse and rape, and there's race issues, but I don't think the entire story, I would say, is about racism, although racism does appear in it, and Celie herself is very obviously a lesbian, or maybe she's bisexual, but she never shows any real interest in male characters. She's just sort of forced into a marriage that she doesn't want, and she only shows any actual attraction towards another female character named Shug. And I think the biggest reason I liked this book was that I could connect to Celie's character. She's definitely been put down a lot in her life, and she's been sort of led to believe that she's good for nothing. Other characters constantly call her ugly and too skinny, and her skin's the wrong color, and this is other African-American characters, so it's not just white people saying you're too dark or something. They'll just constantly say that she's stupid and not good at anything, but she's never really been given a chance to thrive in any way. And it's actually not until she meets Shug that she actually starts to slowly find her voice, and she's introduced to other, more confident and powerful female characters that she realizes she can be inspired by and try to grow based on their example. Despite the fact that it talks a lot about the really difficult things that go on in her life, at the end it feels sort of triumphant in a way. She does manage to get away from her abusive husband and her crappy living situation, and she's forced to take care of his kids, and they're all just little monsters because he's a crappy father. And she eventually learns to strike out on her own and make her own money and live in her own house and just get this sort of independence and freedom that she's been told her entire life she doesn't deserve. Truth be told, there's only a couple things that I didn't really like about this book, and one of them is just, I guess, the way that it's written. It's totally told from Celie's perspective, and she's sort of writing these mental notes or letters to God, and then eventually to her sister Nettie. But the way that it's told is through her voice, which I do like, but she doesn't speak very grammatically correct, and sometimes things are misspelled, so it's nice that you get to hear her voice. Like, I was definitely reading it in her voice the entire time, but sometimes it was a little bit confusing, especially because there's no quotation marks used during dialogue, so it just kind of all blends together. It'll say something like, Shug says blah 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 blah, and there's no typical punctuation that you use with dialogue while writing. To me, it was a very small infraction, strike against it, whatever. I didn't really mind that much. I actually really liked reading through her voice in a way that most books don't. Like, you sort of get the idea of how the person thinks and talks if it's first person, but this really made me read it in her accent and the fact that she's not well educated, so she doesn't necessarily know how to spell things or how things are properly pronounced. So that was cool, but it was just, there were times when I wasn't sure that someone was talking, or I had to like stumble a little bit to realize what she was actually trying to say. But it didn't bother me that much. It was just kind of, sometimes took a little bit longer to actually read or realize what she was trying to say. And then the other thing that I didn't quite like that much, it's again a small thing. Towards the end of the book, we find out that Celie's husband has been hiding letters from her sister. The entire book, she just doesn't really know where her sister is after she runs away from home. But then once she discovers these letters, she realizes that her sister has been writing to her for years. I think like 20, 30 some odd years. And then we're actually reading these letters that Nettie writes to Celie. The last, I don't know how many chapters, but the last section of the book, you get to see what happens to Nettie and what she's been doing, and that I'm definitely interested in. But for a while, it just started to take up too much space when I really just wanted to see what Celie was doing. So I was very, very invested in Celie through the entire book. And Nettie, I kind of forgot about her. So like I was saying, I was very invested in Celie through the entire book, and Nettie was sort of an afterthought until we discover these letters. And then I was interested to know what she was doing, like how she was living a very different life from Celie. But after a while, I was like, okay, I don't care as much what Nettie is up to, and unless her path somehow crosses with Celie's. And then I would actually care because I want to see them reunited. But after a while, I did get tired of her letters, and I really just wanted to get back to what Celie was doing and seeing her become a much stronger character. But yeah, like I said, I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book, and there's only a few things that like brought it down a little bit, but they were just small issues. Like, I wasn't really bothered by them that much. So I would recommend it, and also suggest that you guys check out the list of banned books that have been going on across the years, and just see how many books, I'm looking at the list right now, how many books have been challenged or banned or burned or restricted, or just voices that people have attempted to silence just because some little thing didn't agree with them or rubbed them the wrong way, God forbid, get over it. Some of these I do understand because, okay, yeah, they have some, difficult situations, but for a lot of them, I think banning them is way too far. Like, what's an example? Twilight has been challenged and banned, The Hunger Games, a surprising number of children's and young adult books. And even, oh yeah, this one, My Mom's Having a Baby, a kid's month-by-month guide to pregnancy. God forbid we teach children sex education. Anyway, the entire concept of banned books is fascinating and frustrating, and yeah, go check out these lists. Like I said, I'm going to link these below in the description so you can check them out. And even if you can't read them during Banned Books Week, I think we should always celebrate banned books and appreciate lack of censorship or just the ability to have access to some of these books. And you can see how many you have read and find some new ones that you want to pick up. And if you wanted to pick up The Color Purple, I definitely recommend it because it was a really good book. So yeah. Alright, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know how you feel about banned books, the concept of banned books. Do you think there's some books that should be banned or challenged? And why? I would like to know your reasoning behind it. If you check out the links that I'm going to put there, or if you just search for Banned Books Week or bannedbooksweek.org, it'll come right up and they will have lists or links to lists where you can find them. And I want to know if you've read any of those, which ones were your favorites, were there any that you felt like should be challenged or banned for some reason? Like I said, I'd like to know why, because some of them are not that bad. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into like a heated thing about why or why not something should be banned. So if you do advocate for something being challenged for some reason, or maybe just being reassigned to a different age group. Maybe it was marketed as a children's book, but you think it would be better as a young adult book. Please be respectful of my beliefs as well as other people in the comments if that's something that you're going to try to debate. So like I said, that's all I have for you guys today. If you'd like to keep up with me on my writing endeavors, I will leave all my social media links below in the description. It's pretty much Marlow York everywhere. If you'd like to check out my debut self-published novel, Blood of Fire, I'll also leave that below in the description. If you like this video, like, subscribe, do other stuff, let me know what kind of stuff that you would like me to film videos about, and I will see if I would like to accommodate. So until next time, see ya!